Good morning. It's Thursday morning, Garden of England in my office. Just an update. I've had a go this morning reaching out to the Iona community to see if we can do something with the Abbey. They've just got a voicemail at the moment, and I'm waiting in two important calls today. I don't want to get that mixed up, so I'll wait till another time before I reach out again. But I've had fantastic help overnight, as it were, to understand some of the dynamics of Iona that I've obviously not aware of. The last time I was in Iona, I reckon, was 40 years ago. So what I now know from Angela Trainer is, and she runs her own programmes up there, is that getting there and back could be easier. Now, I really believe that if you choose to go from Glasgow, let's say, by train, it's one of the journeys of a lifetime, to be honest. It's just stunning. And I think the range of experiences you would have doing that journey by train, and then separately over on the ferry to Mull, get a bus across Mull, get to the end of Mull and get the little ferry over to Iona. All of that would be part of the retreat process, not the retreat process, forgive me, the island process. And I would highly recommend that. Of course, driving by car up to Oban, even taking the car across to Mull, drive across Mull, and then get the little foot ferry over. That would be fine too. Yeah, I think you would miss out a lot by doing that, but that's okay. But what she explained was that getting back and forward could be easier, in the sense that often the train at Oban, waiting as it were, or not waiting at all for a ferry arriving. And she's explained more than once she's been desperately wanting to get off that ferry to catch that train. The ferries arrived in time, but they let the cars off first, apparently, before they let passengers off, foot passengers. And she then scrambling and running along to see if she can catch the train. And the train would actually leave, knowing full well there were people who had just come off that ferry waiting to get on, or rushing to get that train. Apparently there's just no coordination, and it's really quite disappointing to hear that, but there you go. So what she's pointing out is that you need to be very, very careful about your planning. And so I now fully understand that in order to do this, to make sure that you do get there and don't get caught up, is that really I'm going to deliver the course ideally on a Wednesday and Thursday, and so that get up to Oban by the Monday evening. I'm going to suggest stay overnight in Oban. That I would imagine would be relatively easy. There should be plenty of accommodation, one would imagine, or at least nearby, so that you get able to catch the first ferry over to Mull. Now, apparently, if you want to take your car over, that's another ball game. You really need to book that as early as possible. But I'm not announcing the actual dates, the actual week, until Mercury in retrograde's out. So that's a wee bit more to wait to give everybody a fair crack at it. So I think my idea of getting there on the Monday, so that I can get up at whatever time to on that first ferry, to ensure, and this is the other issue, it's actually making sure that there's a bus when you get onto Mull that will take you across Mull. And that's another ball game of making sure that you don't arrive too late into Mull on a late ferry when there's no buses. So this whole idea is pretty clear. You probably have to be in Oban by Monday night, if you're going by public transport, of course. Stay overnight, get onto Iona on the Tuesday morning, which would be fantastic. Give you some time to really enjoy Iona. There's lots of stuff there, and I'll be suggesting things anyway before the process begins that will really enhance your experience. Then I deliver the course, and then I leave again as early as possible, first ferries, as it were, over onto Mull, to get across, hopefully get to Oban in plenty of time to catch, if need be, later trains, if there's a carry-on with your ferry getting there in time to catch the immediate train taking people back to Glasgow. So fun and games, but what a beautiful part of the world to enjoy fun and games. That's maybe the point. Now, so you can look forward to the joy of getting there and getting back from there. But you know, all of that would be just extraordinary. And the course itself is amazing. And I'm obviously going to update the course as I revisit it and bring into let Source advise me on how best to teach it, particularly being on the island as opposed to being in a city centre hotel teaching the course now, or a venue. Now, yesterday, or in the last few days, I've recommended that you might go into the Treasure Trove, which is the playlist for COVID, the Facebook interviews that I did over the course of that first year of COVID. And, you know, I came across the Dr. Will Cole one because I recommended it to a friend. I watched it. I was amazed at how good that was in terms of the content, Will Cole, his whole approach. That was so exciting for people who would love to get into this lifestyle that I'm into, but not necessarily from a meat place. And his wonderful book, Ketotarian. But I noticed as I searched for it that right behind it was my interview with Belinda Fettke. Now, if you've been following the videos I've done over recent times, then you know that I've interviewed Dr. Fettke not that long ago and previously during that first year. But her interview was just outstanding and extraordinary. And I watched it again yesterday. I was doing dishes and cooking, and so I was listening to it more than watching it. But just absolutely amazing. And it's before we've got a vaccine. It's before lockdowns are happening, and you can sense the naivety in both of us in a sense about COVID. But her story of the fact that her husband Gary had been stopped in his tracks, just an ordinary, wonderful doctor who was fed up slicing off people's legs. And when you hear the interview, you hear him talk about the thud that a foot will make as it hits the pail below it, because of type 2 diabetes and so on. And he just got fed up with it. And he knew that sugar and so on was playing a big part in this, and that he could stop this. Where once you might have got one of these things, someone coming in with challenges once a month or something, he was now getting just loads of them every week. Challenges with type 2 diabetes, and a real tiny population. And he got really fed up with it, and he just spoke out, and he did something, and they locked him down, as it were. And she took up the case to start searching who was it that caused this. Innocent people involved, of course, just because they believed in the paradigms at the time, thought he was doing something wrong, reported him, probably with the best of intention, but then the powers that be, the vested interests, took over, and she uncovered all of that. And to hear it all again, and then when you hear that again, and then the subsequent stuff that's going on, you begin to really wonder, don't you? Then you start thinking maybe, and especially my interview with Professor Noakes, which is also on that channel, on that playlist, you wonder what else? What else? I mean, the rubbish, the nonsense that's out there about farting cows, the nonsense about beef causing cancer. There's no research anywhere. The whole nonsense about saturated fat. We go on and on and on. But what else? And so what was interesting was waking up this morning to look through my YouTube feed just for a moment. I always like to do that, what coincidentally comes in. And there was Robert Kennedy Jr. explaining to the American people why he stopped the investment of $500 million into that particular type of vaccine. And he explains it, and when he explains it, you understand it. And just listen to the man. He obviously has challenges, one would imagine, speaking, or it sounds like it. But come on, folks. And people dismiss him because a newspaper, even The Guardian, say that he's some kind of anti-vaccine guy. He isn't anti-vaccine. He's explained that repeatedly, and he explains it again in the interview. But what on earth is going on? And then you go back, maybe watch him first, explaining what he's doing in the last few days, then go and maybe watch or listen to the interview with Belinda and just see that beautiful innocence, that real naivety as she ventured into figuring out what's going on here with her husband. And then she uncovers more and more and more. And we've all moved on since then. That was 4 years ago or so. So interesting times. Interesting times. So anyway, you've all got your own ability to seek out information and process it and understand it. But, you know, let's be frank, if you're taking stuff from the BBC or even so-called journalists like, you know, that would maybe exist in a newspaper like The Guardian, The Times and so on. I mean, think about it. At least when I was, you know, being informed by my own political sort of unfolding understanding as a student, you know, when I was a student, you know, going way back more than 50 years ago, you would imagine that if something was happening to Dr. Gary Fettke, that someone, at least one, if not loads of media, would be pushing one another aside to get at that story and reveal it. Surely? Would they? Did they? You wonder now, don't you? You really do. Because one would have imagined, even yet, that so-called investigative journalists would be all over that and start to write and get it in. But you know what's going to happen. Would the BBC publish such a thing? Would even The Guardian publish such a thing? I seriously doubt it. The same old things are still being peddled. And if you seriously still believe that saturated fat is going to give you heart disease, oh my goodness. And if you think eating beef is going to give you cancer, oh my goodness. What on earth else are we believing in? That because the vested interests, as in fact Robert Kennedy points out, it's not just the fact that the vested interests who make money out of producing things, it's the fact that the media is also involved in making sure that the mainstream paradigm is to trust the stuff that we now know is nonsense. Anyway, I hope you got to the end of this and I didn't annoy you too much. And if I'm not annoying you too much, then I can assure you, when I release the opportunity to get to Iona to do the island, for goodness sake, get working on that just now. Find friends and even absolute beginners who would be willing to share with you a pod, if need be, on the island of Iona, or to get yourself really out your comfort zone and get yourself in a tent, as I'm going to do. Because lying just on top of that beautiful island, as close as I can get to the earth of it, is going to be an amazing experience. And yeah, I'm taking the risk that there might be storms and so on. But if there is, we'll deal with it. And that would be part of the process that the island provides. It would be highly, highly impactful at all kinds of levels of your awareness going through that particular course. So get out of your comfort zone and get ready for that. And of course, the dates might not suit you, all sorts of reasons that you might not be able to get there. Certainly now having to take out, a Monday through to a Friday might not be easy for you either. I get that. But what I have decided, having had further information from Angela, is I'm definitely going to seek out to do an island on Cumbria. But the first one has to be Iona. That's on my bucket list and I really want to do it. So it'd be lovely if I can share that with you. It has the power to change lives. So there you go, folks. Have a cracker. Might be able to speak to you tomorrow. Bye now. Bye-bye.